This is the Real Change Wilmington podcast, episode 31, Inside the Band Book Nook and Other Curiosities, with our guests today, Rachel and Lily Collins.
The week before we opened, it was every day I'd wake up and go, what am I thinking? Am I insane? Like, I left a job that I've been at for 10 years to do this, and what is going to happen? And is this going to... But, you know, luckily I have that support system because Adam's the one that talks me out of my crazy when I start losing my mind. And he's like, it's okay. We'll figure it out. It's always doable.
What is going on, everybody? This is your host of the Real Change Wilmington podcast, Dustin Pierce.
And I'm Emily Griffith, the co-host.
And on our podcast, we interview leaders of local organizations to help squash rumors and foster a greater sense of pride and camaraderie in Wilmington. If you haven't tuned into Real Change before, we are a positive, constructive, and lighthearted source of local news, events, and resources. We have a website, a podcast, social media, and a newspaper that goes around town to help that goal of being positive, constructive, and lighthearted. So on today's podcast, we have Rachel Collins, the owner of the Band Book Nook, and her daughter, Lily. It was quite the podcast because I was outnumbered 3-1, ladies to guys.
And I mean, you had the whole family here and then you.
Yeah. So our own Emily Griffith is related to Rachel. How are you guys related?
She is my second cousin and Lily is my second cousin once removed. So her dad is my great uncle, was my great uncle. He's passed.
And then they also just had a ribbon cutting this weekend that you and the family went to. How did that go?
Good. It was packed in there. It was really great to see so many people from the community come in and shop and buy books. They had a great book sale. It was buy 5 books, get 1 free. And their prices are better than Goodwill. So
nice. And I heard that your mom and brother loved the fact that their photo was taken and put on social media.
Yeah. My mom was, had a little bit of an adverse reaction to it, but I think she'll be all right.
She'll be all right.
We just won't tell her who took the photos. She can stay in Hillsborough.
Right on. What other updates do you have, Emily? I know. So Emily called off work yesterday because she exercised on Sunday. And tell us about that, Emily.
So one of my other cousins, she rents out space at this workout studio in Hillsborough, and she does this thing called beatboxing, which is like Zumba and kickboxing and whatever, all mixed up. Mm-hmm. And my Aunt Bridget, she told me about it, and she was like, she'd been trying to get us all to go. And I wasn't doing anything on Sunday, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? Sit at my house and look at the wall? I guess I'll go to this. And it was supposed to be a beginner-friendly, low-impact class. Uh-huh. And it was a lot of fun. Credit where credit due, it was a lot of fun. I got home, and as soon as I got back into Wilmington, it felt like garbage.
Yeah, she came in on Monday very excited, very pumped for life, having done this class, and then the next day, dead to the world.
That's what happens. I mean, I've got other health issues that contribute to it, so...
Negativity.
Yeah. Complete
general
lack
grumpiness.
of regard for this world.
So, one thing that stood out to me with this podcast is Rachel's love for her husband, Adam, and appreciation for him just letting her pursue her dreams, even if they don't make any money, as long as they pay rent, which I thought was super endearing. As a very judgmental person myself, I sometimes look at businesses and like, how is that business staying afloat? But she was just very forthcoming with the fact that it's just her dream and she wants to do it for the community. And that's so awesome. I have mad respect for that, for her and for Adam, for being able to do this and to do it for our community. So
yeah, I think it's neat that she's continuing her family legacy too. So the part of her family that I'm not related to, her grandmother had a bookstore here in a couple of different locations. And she talks about fondly going there after school and spending time there. And she's had such positive outpour from the community that's like, wow, I remember going to your grandmother's store. So I think that probably drives her to have great business, even if she's just paying the rent.
Sure. So if you've not checked out the band's Book Nook and Other Curiosities, check it out. And if you have checked it out, this podcast will get a bit deeper into their story. So without further ado, let's bring in Rachel and Lily and get the podcast started. So Rachel Collins and Lily Collins, welcome to the Real Change Wilmington podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So you guys have a new bookstore across the street from us.
Absolutely, we do.
We're going to dig into that.
Okay, sounds good.
First, we're going to get to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
So I saw in the news journal that you are a Wilmington native.
I am.
So you were born here?
I was born here. I was born just down the road.
CMH?
Yep.
Okay.
I think, well, when I was born, I lived in Bigland. So we lived in Bigland for a while. And then we moved to Wilmington. But yeah.
Oh, so you're a
I've
fraud.
been here my whole life. County native. Yeah. I think I moved here when I was 3.
Okay. Gotcha. And then so books are obviously really important to you.
Right.
Tell us about what books meant to you growing up, I guess.
Well, so I was the only child till I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always had a book in my hand for as long as I can remember. Like I can remember reading to my kindergarten class. That's like, and it was probably more memorization, but to me, it felt like I was, reading to them.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, I learned how to read really early just because I also had a grandmother who was a teacher. She was a 4th grade teacher. So, and I spent a lot of time with them. So, but I've always had a book in my hand for as long as I can remember. I mean, everywhere I go, I have a book. So it's just, my grandma had a bookstore here in town when I think she bought it when I was like middle schoolish, junior high age. The bookstore had been here for years. I actually shopped at it with my mom before my grandma bought it. But once my grandma bought it, I spent most of my afternoons after school there. I would go stop at Julia's Cheeser, which people that didn't grow up here don't know about it, but there's this little shop. It's over by where Domino's is.
Okay.
And these cute little old couple owned it, and they've had smoked string cheese. And you would stop, and it didn't matter how much money you had. You'd say, I need 75 cents worth of string cheese. And he would pull out this huge Tupperware bowl full of cheese, and he would pull it out, he'd get his little curved knife, and he'd cut just that whatever amount it was. He'd wrap it up for you, and they had like clearly Canadian and all that fancy kind of, stuff they had in the late 80s, early 90s. So you'd stop by there, and then I'd go to my grandma's house or go to my grandma's bookstore and sit there and read books for the rest of the afternoon.
Where was the bookstore at?
So the first place I remember being at before my grandma owned it, well, you guys aren't local. Do you know where Allen Studios used to be?
No.
Okay.
What is it now?
The prosecutor's office. Do you know where the prosecutor's office is?
The old
post office?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a parking lot behind there that's behind a doctor's office. Between the doctor's office and there was a building there.
Okay.
And that's where the Book Nook was when I was little. And then at some point she moved it over to where H&R Block is. And at that point, it was owned by a lady named Mildred Thompson. And so she had it there. And then once my grandma took over, she moved it over to actually right around the corner from where we are. There used to be the GM Rice building was there. They've torn it down to make Rome and all of that. But that was a big furniture store. And there was like a little nook in between. It used to be a hotel. It was called the New Martin Hotel, but there was a little room down there, and that's where she had it. And then she moved it from there to underneath the sepia tone mural.
Sepia tone mural.
The one that's on Main Street.
Across from the courthouse.
Across from the courthouse, this big sepia tone mural.
Up front.
Oh, yeah.
With all creepy people.
All the white people on.
Yes. All the creepy people. Yes, that's
Yes.
what it said. So downstairs.
It's sepia tone. What does that even mean?
Yeah. It's where the guest house.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
so downstairs, she was down there next to, there was a Deb's Health Den was right next door.
Okay.
So there was like a door in between them. So we, chit chat back and forth. And so then the last place she had it was kind of on the other side over, what's the Derbyshire building? The basement of the Derbyshire building.
Okay.
So that was the last place she had it. And she closed it, I want to say somewhere around 97-ish, I think. I'm not 100% sure on the numbers there, but I tried to buy it from her at the time, and she's like, you'll never make money at it. But she sold Harlequin romances and Westerns. But it's funny now that the article came out in the paper, several people who were younger than me in high school that I knew have all said, I never knew that was your grandma. I used to hang out there all the time. So I didn't realize, she had some, sci-fi and other stuff that would be interesting to high school kids at the time, but I never knew that she had such a following. So it's been really kind of a heartwarming thing because she passed away in, oh gosh, I don't even remember, 2009, I think. Yeah. It's either 2009 or 2010. So, it's been really heartwarming for me to see that people, remember her and speak of the store fondly, which is cool, which is what I kind of want to do. I want to have that kind of, if I had a space that I could have chairs and stuff, that's my ultimate goal, is to kind of foster some kind of hangout kind of thing, you know, which would just kind of get kids into books. That's my big thing, is getting books into people's hands, whether they're banned or not, just books in general. So, yeah.
Was there a bookstore at the Mason building at one time, or was so that's different than your grandmother's?
Yeah,
okay.
My grandma's was used. Books and More was all new.
Okay.
So they had all new books, and they were really good. They would order in anything you wanted and everything. But I think that maybe the overhead in that building might have been too much for them, and that Amazon happened, and it kind of took over the market of new books. So
yeah, for sure.
You kind of have to, when you have new books, you have to price them a little higher. So.
Yep.
Our intention is to be as cheap as we can and still make money. So however that works, but that's our plan at this point.
Okay. We'll get more into like what you are selling at your store, and then let's dig more into your story. So you are married.
I am.
Your daughter is here with us.
Yes.
How did you meet your husband?
So we met when I was in 4th grade and he was in 3rd grade. We were in gifted and talented enrichment at school together. And that year they bussed us over to the junior high when we were that age. And that year there weren't enough kids in each class to they put the 3rd and the 4th grade together. To be perfectly honest, I don't think either one of us really remembers the other one. But I found an old autograph book that I had that year that he signed. I mean, it's just his name, so it's not anything, Stop. So that's adorable. So that's actually when we officially met. But of course, he's been here his whole life too. So he was a year behind me in high school. So we started dating 7 days after I graduated from high school. We went on our first date. So in June of 1994. And yeah.
So he waited till you were gone out of school before he asked you?
No, honestly, no.
Not the question.
No.
Wait, what?
I thought you were going to ask. We waited until you were legal.
Oh no! Oh my gosh!
Yeah, because when we first started dating, he was 16 and I was 18. So, but he turned 17 very soon afterwards. But no, it just I think we started kind of hanging out. That was when everybody hung out in Hillsborough and drove around in circles, or went to the plaza, the Kroger Plaza, and hung out. And we just kind of, started hanging out. One night he did something to my car. What did you pull fuses out or something?
Made it so that she couldn't start her car.
Yeah, he killed my car.
And so she had to come ask him for help because he was the car guy. Oh, it's so cute. It's disgustingly adorable.
And, my friend doesn't make fun of me, but we did go, our first day we went to the drive-in, which is currently being torn down, which is heartbreaking because that was something that if we ever won a lottery, we would have bought that. Turned it into something cool, but so they're currently tearing it down, which is sad. So we've been married 26 years this year. Is that right?
Why are you looking at me?
Yeah, 26 years. So we've been married for 26 years and we have one kid.
This is the best thing ever happened to her in 2002. You're welcome.
Yeah, and she was born in Dogwood downhill.
Oh wow!
I'll take it.
But so we did go to high school together. He's a year behind me, but we started dating right after I graduated. It just kind of happened that way.
Okay, and he's in the cars, and he works at Jags Performance.
Yes, Jags Performance
in Columbus.
He actually works from home, but it's a high performance auto parts. He's worked at Napa here in town for 21 years,
46 days.
He's got it all worked out.
Wow.
It was very hard for him to leave, but the change has been really good for everybody. So he misses his Napa people. So
when did he make that change?
January this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's been a big year for you guys.
It has been. Yeah. It has been very interesting. So but he's enjoying it, which is good. And this gets him out of the house because when, he was working from home and I was working from home, we had opposite shifts. I worked 9 to 5 and he worked 2 to 11. So we didn't leave the house for the most part.
So you were a pharmacy tech in Dayton for 20 years, I saw.
Not in Dayton for 20 years.
Oh,
I didn't quite get that right. But I've been a pharmacy tech for 20 years. Actually 23. Yeah. I worked at CVS. I worked at CVS in Blaine. I worked at CVS in Wilmington. I did the mail order for a while. I worked at Cincinnati Children's for a while. But for the past 10 years, I've been at CareSource, which is a managed Medicaid. So I did prior authorizations for a while. I did doctor visits and we went out and talked to doctors about, prescribing formulary drugs and stuff like that. And the last thing I did was I did medication reviews with Medicare patients. We did outbound calls. Well, we took inbound too, but we did outbound calls to members and talked to them about their medications. And then we have a pharmacist talk to them. So yeah.
That was what you did when you were at home.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I did that, and I did prior authorizations at home too. But yeah. A lot of us, I was in the office. They sent us all home for COVID. Mm-hmm. For a little bit when I was at CareSource, though, I was a health, I can't even remember what it was.
Home healthing?
No, it was community health workers. Sorry. So many acronyms that I kind of lost that one. Community health workers, where I was in Clinton County a lot. I would go out and visit people in their homes, make sure they were safe, make sure they didn't need anything, make sure I could help them with whatever community resources we had. So I did that for about a year and a half, but it was a good job. I liked it. There was a lot of traveling. So it was kind of one of those things where I was like, I can only do this for so long. So then I went back into pharmacy. So.
Okay.
But my 10-year anniversary at CareSource would have been this November. So I just didn't quite make it.
It's a bigger fish to fry.
Right. Exactly.
So you said you're into reading as a child. What was your favorite book or series?
Little House on the Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, absolutely. No questions. My dream trip is to follow her path. And Adam's dream trip is to take Route 66. They kind of intersected a little bit. So we've talked about that. That's been my dream trip my whole life, is to follow her path and go to all the different sites and stuff. Even to this day, if I need something to read and I just need fluff to read, the first thing I read during COVID was The Long Winter, because it was about them being trapped in their house. And it kind of gave me a new perspective on it, because, I kind of was like, oh, wow. I mean, obviously there's no weather trapping me here, but we didn't go anywhere. We went to my parents' house and we stood outside and talked to each other so it was kind of a cool thing to reread that and think, kind of have a little bit of a sense of, granted, we weren't starving, but we could still get quick list.
We didn't have toilet paper, but.
Yeah, exactly. There was no toilet paper. But we at least had food. So.
Okay.
I remember that toilet paper thing. My in-laws actually, because they met the senior thing, so they'd go buy extra and they tossed us some as they went by every day.
I went to Sam's and thought that I had hit the jackpot, and then got home and realized it was one ply, and I was like, who wants that?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that would be awful.
Just use your hand at that point.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, man, maybe I should just buy a bidet.
Yeah. Hands on. Because they had them.
I could get on a tangent about bidets, but I'm not. But let's press forward.
I hate bidets.
You hate bidets? You hate being cleaner than?
No, it's so uncomfortable.
The man bidet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't have a public restroom, so.
Okay.
Put a sign up, no public restroom.
Because there's a bidet back there. It's all fancy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's talk about the inspiration for the band bookstore.
So I've always wanted to have a bookstore. That's always been my dream. So obviously somewhere I had to put the book nook in there because of my grandma. But the band part of it actually came from, we went to Detroit last year. We went to see, you went to see Max Saturn. That's what it was. We took Lily to a concert. Yeah. Well, make sure you So she went to see Max Saturn, and we were in Detroit. So we were walking around downtown, and they had like a Chris Kindle Mart. So if you've ever been to a Chris Kindle Mart, they have like little stalls, kind of like little tiny, rooms that you can go in and shop. And one of them just happened to have banned books. And I was like, that's kind of an interesting concept. And I thought you could probably make that a whole bookstore, but then at the same time, you have to have other things, because clearly you can't sell just banned books. So, Adam and I started talking about it, and we were like, we got to just start collecting, just see what happens. And we were kind of, it was something that I was not loving my job at the time, but obviously I had to have a job. But this is before he started at JAG. So the problem was at that point was I had insurance. He didn't at his job. So I always had to have a job. So then when he started at JAGS, it was like, we could move on. We could ever switch everybody to your insurance. And so we started buying books thinking, kind of see what happens. And then we, one day I was at, what's it called? in Morrow, the Morrow
Art Center.
Morrow Art Center. We have the Morrow Art Center, and they've taken like an old school and broken up the classrooms, and they have little stores in each one of the classrooms. And I was like, why couldn't I come here? This would be perfect. So I talked to somebody that I know that was there, and so she gave me the information to contact the owner. I sent him a message. He said, we don't have anything open right now, but I'll put you on the list. And I was like, okay. So that was probably March or April. Well, we continued to collect books. And then our living room was full, and then our back room was full. And then we were like, maybe we just don't want to wait for Morrow. So we started looking in town, thinking that it would be hard to find something affordable because we really weren't sure.
I saw you like wandering and touring different buildings.
Yeah. We checked out 94 South. We checked out another building, over on across the street from there. And then my parents were walking around, and my dad saw the sign in the store where we are now. And he's like, why don't you call this number? This looks like a cool place. And I was like, okay, sure. So I called, and we got in touch and went and looked at it. And we were like, it was bigger than the one we were thinking about. It was less expensive than the one we were thinking about. And our landlord is great. Like, he's like, I don't care what you do. I mean, all of those bookshelves are anchored into the wall. So we literally anchored into the wall, like all over the place. So we ended up there. So then we were like, we thought about traffic and everything. And we thought, well, we'll get the traffic between TidCap and Denver, or, the Murphy, whatever. And then we can also be involved in everything in town. So we were like, okay, well, we looked at it, we talked about it, we said, okay, when can we pull the trigger? And then September, we were like, okay, so we paid the first month's rent and moved all the books in. We had a living room for a little bit, but now it's filling up with other stuff. So it's hard to get time to clean stuff up at home when you're constantly over there. So, one's gonna get a little crazy, but it's okay because we have our bookstore and we're happy.
It looks very nice.
We had a great first week. Thank you. I really, it was like my original vision was let's go buy, eclectic looking furniture. But once I got in there, I was like, yeah, first of all, it was hard to find books. We looked for bookshelves all summer, couldn't find any. So we were like, okay, well, IKEA is reliable, usually has all the same stuff. So we ended up at IKEA, and they really like us there. But when we first started, we were like, oh, we'll never fill this space up. Yeah, we were wrong. We have used every nook and cranny at this point. So with us and the stuff in the back. So
what's the timeline again with the Chris Kindle Mart?
So we were there last November.
Yeah. That's when you started collecting books.
That's when we started collecting, was around that time. Really started heavy collecting in like March.
Was it collecting only banned books or collecting books?
It started with just banned books. First, we were like, okay, let's see what we can collect in the way of banned books.
Those are like really hard to come by because everybody's like, oh, they're banned. I'm going to keep them for myself.
Right.
I can sell them in 20 years.
Right. And a lot of the newer, like the LGBTQ themed banned books are hard to find because people keep them. A lot of the things that are involved with racism and stuff are hard to find because people keep them, I think. Like she said, but we started with banned books, and then once we had what we thought was a good amount of those, then we started just anything we could find. So we found several different places with good prices that have nice books. I mean, most of our books look pretty nice. Plus, we've gotten donations. We've gotten several large donations, and we're constantly getting messages. Do you take donations? Everybody who's been in the store, we've had somebody come in on one day, buy books, come back the next day, donate, and buy more books. So far we've gotten a lot of donations, and of course family and that kind of thing too. So yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, we're over 4,000. We thought, I read a thing somewhere that said you need like 15,000 to start a bookstore. And I was like, no, there's no way. But when we hit 4,000, I was like, holy cow, I never dreamed we'd have this many, but there's probably another couple hundred sitting on the floor and they're waiting for us to get them in. So
do you have like a point of sale system that inventories all that? Or are you just
I looked at bookstore inventory systems and they were all like $50 a month, $60 a month. And I was like, we can't, right out the gate, we can't do that. So we found a collector's website that it's like, I think I paid $15 a year or something, where it's just basically a collector's website. You scan them in and it gives them all to you. The problem is getting them out. So if you ever are in there, if you pay attention, whenever we sell something, we're scribbling it down because we're taking it out later.
Okay.
So it's kind of an antiquated way to do it, but it works for right now. It might be down the line. We try to do something different, but for right now, it works for us. And if we miss one or two here and there, I figure it's not a huge deal. So, because I know there's times like the very first sale we made, we were like, oh, nobody wrote it down. And she went home and posted on her Instagram. And I was like, yay, now we know what she wants. So it's kind of a weird, it's a little antiquated, but it works for now. And since there's only, typically it's usually Adam and I, or when Lily's home, she's in there. And sometimes maybe my aunt or my mom might come in and work if we need a day off or something. But so I figure it works for what we have at this point.
So what did your husband say when you told him that you're going to open a banned bookstore?
So luckily he's very patient. I collect a lot of things. I'm a big scrapbooker, so I have basically one room of our house that's full of books and scrapbook stuff and craft stuff. And
is collecting like the polite way of saying you're a hoarder?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That was fantastic. Thank you.
To be perfectly honest, that's where the other curiosities are coming from. Is my mom and my aunt love auctions.
Yeah.
I think they're just clearing out space at their houses so that they can just bring in more. But yeah, I would say so. Adam's usually on board with most things. He's pretty easygoing. He doesn't, and even though he's not a huge reader, basically his whole thing at that point was he just wanted me to do something that would make me happy. And since I really didn't like my job at the time, I know. It's very much, he said he doesn't even care if we don't make money. He just wants me to do something that makes me happy. So
what a man.
I know. I'm very, very blessed. Trust me. I know it. He's
awesome.
Very patient with all of my crazy. So that's great.
Okay.
But yeah, no, he's fully supportive. He is kind of cracking down on my book buying because he told me I was allowed to spend overboard. He was allowed to spend $100 on books this weekend, and we went a little over.
We did not do anything. You went over. I had to carry the boxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went a little overboard, but he also keeps taking me places. So like Saturday night, we went to one place. Sunday, she and I went one place. Then we went someplace this morning to buy books. So
it's not the weekend anymore.
Exactly. And I told him, I said, he's like, you can't buy any more books for a while. And I'm like, well, the half price book outlet sale is this weekend. So, and he's like, well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So yes, he is very patient and very supportive, and thank goodness, but he's in this new job and he loves his new job. Not that he didn't like Napa, but it's a change that was good for him and he really, really enjoys it. So he's happy. I'm happy. We're all happy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Yeah. I imagine somewhere down the line, it might look a little different depending upon how things go because, I'm not making as much at the bookstore as I did in my old job. But then again, if we keep up like we did last week, maybe we will.
That's
we don't
awesome.
have a whole lot of overhead. We just have rent, really.
Well,
people just give you books, so you sell them.
Exactly.
And you're getting right at the holiday season.
Yes. And that was part of I was like, when we found the spot, I said, I want to be ready by Halloween. Because I knew that they did the downtown Halloween. So unfortunately, I'm out of town that weekend, so poor Adam's got to deal with it himself. But, I wanted to hit that time of knowing Halloween and then Thanksgiving, Holidazzle, Christmas.
You guys doing Holidazzle?
We'll be open during Holidazzle. I figure we'll end up being I told Adam that we're going to make some soup or something because I imagine my whole family's going to show up because I have a huge family. So they'll show up and want to, and want to come in and get warm because, depending on the weather.
Oh, it's so cold last year.
So I haven't even been to Holidazzle for a few years. We just haven't.
Yeah, we didn't go.
Because we were in Detroit.
Yeah.
So, it was a lot of, we figured if we hit October, if we made enough to get us through the holidays, that maybe it would get us through the January, February, March, where it might not be quite so busy because it won't be as easy for people to just pop in. And so
is there a book or series that's really popular right now with young adults? There was the Twilight and the Harry Potters.
Those are what we're selling, our Twilight.
Why are you guys laughing at me?
It wasn't Harry Potter. Initially read out the game. He said Twilight. How many times have you read the Twilight series?
Never. I just know it exists and it's popular with
All I can think of is
people.
right now, TikTok is so full of Twilight like content, and one of the things is that it's hoa hoa weather because that's the sound of the music.
Oh my god!
I remember we went to see Ed Sheeran and what's her name?
Christina Perri opened for him.
And I was like,
she constantly goes the 1,000 Years the Vampire song.
It's the vampire lady. I'll say, when Twilight came out, I had all these friends who were teachers, and I thought, okay, if they're reading it, it must be okay. Like, you know, it must be a decent series. You know, I would take it. I read the first book. I was like, this was written by a middle schooler. I was like, put it down and walk away. I could not. Like, I couldn't.
Twilight as a whole, from like, I can't believe that that's just fan fiction. Like, that kills me.
Yeah.
Poorly written novel, poorly written fan fiction.
Yeah.
If you didn't know that.
I didn't know
the first
what I was getting
book,
into.
I was like, no, I couldn't even do it.
Hot garbage.
Yeah. Now, I will say,
Unless Stephanie Meyer sponsors us.
Exactly. If we're finding her, if we're following her, But, no, but I will tell you, we sold 3 sets of the Hunger Games. We sold a couple sets of Harry Potter.
If you notice we're on the same wavelength, we're just going to keep talking. So 3 sets of Twilight.
Yeah, only 1 set of Twilight because I only had 1. I mean, it's still Harry Potter. Still seems
Harry
like it's something.
Really
Chronicles of Narnia. We've sold several sets of that.
One of my friends, I think, bought that from you guys.
Probably
it was like a big book that had all the Narnia. No, Uncle Hodge bought the box set.
Yeah,
it was a whole big. It was all the Narnia books in one. Then we've been looking for Narnia books to replace them, and we can't find them. So. But I think, like, we've sold Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Dork Diaries, and I think even some of the stuff that was, good when she was a kid are still. I will say we've had people ask for what? What are you trying to talk? Oh, go ahead, talk.
I was just going to say that I think The Summer I Turned Pretty, that series is popular right now. Yeah. To All the Boys I've Loved Before.
Anything that's like a Netflix show.
Right. Anything that has a picture to go with it, because kids are like, oh, I'm going to read this and then I'm going to watch it. I'm going to read this and then I'm going to watch it. Just like the after books are really popular now still. And I'm like, I read that when it was a fan fiction.
I think it's funny that
edit that out.
It's very
I don't know what's happening.
I had how old is the one guy?
Who?
The chess guy, Nick. He's younger than Nate, so that would be somewhere between in his 20s. Bought a 1960s etiquette book that we just randomly had on the shelf. And he said he had a teacher in high school who read the etiquette books to them in slow times at school, or if they needed something to talk about, would read old etiquette books to him. So he bought this, and I was like, okay, that's a little strange. But then later on the next day, I think, somebody who works at the General Denver came in because she works at Old Town Tavern. She works both places. And she said she had been talking to him at Old Town Tavern, and they were reading the etiquette book and having a good time reading the etiquette book. So she wanted to know if I had anything else like that so that they could have something else to read. And I was like, it's surprising. Like there's really no pattern. Like I said, Harry Potter, that kind of stuff.
I think it's interesting the amount of people that come in and look at the banned books, turn around and look somewhere else, and then look back at them because they're like, wait a minute, I read that.
Right.
Like The Outsiders, Fahrenheit 451, things people read in school, that they're like, oh, that's banned. I read that. I read that in school. Why is it banned? And it's like, well, let me tell you.
Yeah, because we have several.
Let's transition into what is a banned book and why are books banned. Explain to people what that is.
So a banned book is basically, you can call them banned or challenged, basically at some point. So it's not necessarily that you can't buy them, you can't, that kind of thing. But at some point they've been challenged or taken out of a library or a school district. It's mostly libraries and school districts that are affected. So a book could be, a parent could pick it up and read it and say, oh, I don't approve of whatever. And then they can fill out a form to take to the school. And I'm assuming it goes through school boards most of the time, but sometimes it can be something just as simple as James and the Giant Peach is banned because the word ass is in it. Can I say that on your book?
Yeah. Now we're explicit.
But
Jason on here.
But it's just one of those random. I've seen where they're actually read an article, a lady in Virginia whose kids were older. One of them was actually graduated from high school. One of them, I think, was a junior or senior. She challenged 76 books in the school district over the course of a year. She bought all the books, read them all, notated, highlighted, whatever, went to every school board meeting and explained why. And I'm thinking, well, you first already supported the books because you went and bought them. But I mean, it was just,
So there's no like guideline or parameter. It's just
really.
Somebody's offended and takes
So
it up.
I can tell you there's a definition that I pulled off of American Library Association page that I actually was going to do a post about, but I haven't done it yet. So book banning, a form of censorship, occurs when private individuals, government officials, or organizations remove books from libraries, school reading lists, or bookshelves because they object to their content, ideas, or themes. Book banning is the most widespread form of censorship in the U.S., with children's literature being the primary target. Advocates for banning a book or certain books fear that children will be swayed by its contents, which they regard as potentially dangerous. They commonly fear that publications will present ideas, raise questions, and incite critical inquiry among children that parents, political groups, or religious organizations are not ready to address or that they find inappropriate. It's basically just, I mean, you could do that on anything. There's Amanda Gorman who she read a poem at, was it Biden's
Biden's inauguration.
They're trying to ban one of her book of poems in Florida. And on the challenge form that the parents filled out, they admitted they had never read any of the books. They just they opened it up and saw a word immediately said.
It's not like it has to be like, this whole book is terrible because this is like, it could be one sentence that has this word or this idea that could be conveyed through it. And it's like, if you fill out that form and somebody's like, oh, okay.
Shel Silverstein being banned.
Yes.
I read Shel Silverstein growing up.
Oh, yeah.
I still seek out Shel Silverstein poems.
Yeah.
And like, inherently, they're not bad.
No,
but it's the implication of them. And I think that is the silliest thing.
Well, and it's like Dr. Seuss. And my mom actually sent me a text a couple days ago that said there was somebody, was it Wisconsin, I think? Somewhere they were trying to ban a book a children's book because the author's last name was gay. And I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand as far as, we have one kid. She's
that you know of.
Yeah. So we've never tried to censor anything she did. Music, books, anything like that. I think that most of the time when a parent is banning a book, I feel like it's a maturity thing. This kid, it's okay for this kid because this kid is at a level that they can comprehend what's in the book. And then there's another kid who is in the same class who is not on that level. Because I can tell you, I was reading Stephen King when I was in like the 5th grade. And I can remember teachers telling me, well, you shouldn't be reading that. And I'm like, my mother handed it to me. So I think it's okay. I don't think that my teachers should have had any reason to tell me that I couldn't read something because it's not their business for that matter, and I don't think that there's, I could say, I don't think this is appropriate for my child without saying, I don't think this is appropriate for any child. So, but like I said, we've never tried to really censor anything she listened to just because I didn't see any reason for it. I think that
that turned out okay.
Well, I mean, I think that reading things that either reading banned books or reading things that you have questions about, it fosters that conversation. I feel like I've always said to her, if you have questions about something, so if you're reading a book and you don't understand what's going on, or if you are concerned, ask us, that's what we're here for. That's what your parents are there for, is to foster.
If your book's a thoughtful conversation, it's like, for example, like The Outsiders, you have this outside, East Side, the socialists versus the greasers. Like, what's the issue? Why is it here? Why? Can you explain to me why this is happening? Why this happens? Why they think this is okay? Like, I asked her questions about books that I read because I didn't understand. That's because I had that open conversation from her, not saying, you can't read this book because I don't think you're mature enough. I was probably reading I was probably reading something like Stephen King when I was in 5th grade. Yeah. That's because they gave me the little star sticker on my ID at the school and I got to pick from the big kid books in the elementary school library. Because they had kids books, which were I can read books and I don't want to say lower level books, but younger reader type thing. And then they have the chapter book section, which you could only read from if you had the sticker on your little ID card that they scanned when you went to the library. So I started reading chapter books Like they put my first grade.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
Like I don't
think they had Stephen King in the elementary school library,
but
I hope
and
not.
then we probably had it in our house. But I will tell you, it would have been in our house. I mean, a good chunk of the books that are in the bookstore came out of our house already. Yeah. So.
But I was reading books above the level because I was never told you can't read this book because I don't want you to. It was, you can read it if you have questions. I can attempt to answer them. I can give you that conversation, that thought to make it make sense.
Yeah.
When I first heard that there's a banned bookstore coming in, I first thought it was like banned as in like the instrument.
Yes.
But then I thought it was going to be like witchcraft and like occult stuff. I'm like, that's interesting.
Okay,
so I had no context for what a banned book was.
So I'm going to say something you might want to edit out. But my 92-year-old grandmother.
Oh, Lord.
My 92-year-old grandmother, who obviously has seen a lot in her life, when she heard the name of the bookstore, she thought I was selling pornography and sex toys.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, and there have been multiple people, if you look back on our Facebook page, who are like, can you explain the name of your bookstore? Can you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I get it, but my more thought is come in, check us out.
Sure.
But, I just wonder how many people were, kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think that has to do with the adult pleasure store that opened in Hillsborough?
Why did you bring us up for it?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know about that.
That was a huge, big deal. I'm just asking.
I don't know. I have no idea because I didn't even know that happened.
I said it appropriately.
But you know what? Hillsborough really has, they have a more, I don't want to say vibrant downtown, but they have better parking, so that helps a lot. But I feel like Hillsborough usually has more stuff downtown than what we do. Mm-hmm. Now we're growing, but I always feel like, because I actually at one point thought, well, maybe I could look in Hillsborough and see if I could start, But I also thought going tomorrow and then having it here, I feel like I have the connections, I have the people. But I will say that of our 700 and some odd followers, I don't know a lot of them, which is kind of strange because I've lived here my whole life, except for that little bit of time I lived in Denver. When I was a fraud. When I was three. I was a 3-year-old fraud. Me and my imaginary friend Wonder Woman used to walk around to my grandma's house because it was right next to my grandma's house. So.
Wow, roasted. Okay. So besides banned books, what else do you sell in your store?
So we have all kinds of books. And then we have our other Curiosities, which is basically things that my mom and my aunt have found at auctions or stuff that they've collected. So we have some pottery and some teacups, and my aunt collects cookie jars, so she's been putting those in there. You never know what you might find in there. Linens. Today I saw old Band-Aid tins that my mom just put in there, which I have seen in antique stores. So I'm assuming it's a collectable item.
Did you open them to make sure there were no Band-Aids?
I did not, but you never know. There might be. So
Christine musty.
Yeah, but at least as long as they're not used,
they might be harder to run.
Yeah, they might not stick, but still kind of just an odd collection. That's why we called it Other Curiosities, because we really didn't know what else to call it. One of my friends wanted to what she told me she wanted to call it junk.
I don't think we should say that.
Trinkets and treasures, because
Trinkets
her dad,
and treasures. Yeah.
Her dad is a salesman who sells like pens and branded items, so he always calls them trinkets and treasures. So like he would go to...
Would you add that on to the band book note?
Book note and trinkets and treasures. I think it's already long enough as it is. But he would bring home like samples and stuff, and so he always called it trinkets and treasures. So that's what she told me she thought we should have called it. Other Curiosities was...
You have stickers, you have jewelry.
Oh, we have stickers, we have jewelry, we have bookmarks. We actually just got a whole bunch of bookmarks in. We're working on trying to find a gumball machine because we have a bunch of little...
I just saw a gumball machine, 2 of them on sale on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, yeah?
Either Hillsborough or Morrow.
Okay, I'll have to look. We saw one. We drove to Dayton this morning to buy books, and Adam saw like a yard sale in an industrial beside an old building that kind of looked like a bunch of junk, and there was nobody there. Otherwise, we probably would have come home with it. I'm not really sure where we would have.
Yeah.
But
in my seat.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd have had to sit, had to have on her lap.
Wait, no one was there. Were you just going to take it?
Well, no.
We were going to pay them if there were people.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you didn't
It's
buy.
like
Okay,
a yard sale,
I see.
but there was nobody
Second
there.
coins.
Yeah, I know. So I was like, if I knew how much it was, I could just leave cash and be like, hey. But
Write a little note.
yeah, thanks.
Are you gonna sell like little things in capsules?
Yeah, we already have them. They're already
Okay.
in something. We've actually sold some already, but we were looking for a bubblegum machine so we
Yeah,
could
yeah.
do that. And we have, like we have stickers. We have some little odds and ends of weird Harry Potter things,
Mhm.
coloring sets and stuff. One of my aunts is working on learning how to do book folding so that maybe we could
Okay.
fold books
Yeah.
to, sell those. What else do we have? Keychains. We have a little tiny treasures thing that's got little cows and little
Rubber
ducks,
ducks.
little rubber
Yeah,
ducks
yeah.
and books. Yeah, little tiny books
Yeah.
and little hearts, stones, and it's just kind of a combination of
Choking
stuff
hazards.
that we get. Yeah, exactly. That's why we put it up. Wait for
Oh, the kids.
Until they lift
Oh.
their kids up in
And
the
we have-
kindergarten.
Yeah.
We have handmade wallets and handmade bookmarks that
Oh, nice.
my mother-in-law makes, and
Very
we
cool.
also have handmade
Beanies that
like winter hats that my father-in-law makes. So we've got those, and we're just kind of looking for odds and ends of little things that we can sell. I figure that's what the advice that I got from several people who have owned bookstores is that's what you need to sell is
Mhm.
sidelines. You need to have those little
Okay.
things that catch people's eyes. But we sold out of bookmarks on the first day, like the fancy bookmarks. Like I had some metal ones, and I was like, we have a lot of like paper bookmarks that are like 50 cents or something. But yeah, we sold out of them.
Do you guys sell gift cards yet?
Not yet. We are working on it. We haven't figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
I think we could just write a gift certificate, take money.
Sure.
It's just something it's definitely in the mind, but we haven't gotten that far yet. But I plan to try to do it before Christmas because I've had several people ask me.
I think
already.
a Kava House's gift card system is really antiquated. They used to have like little cards and write down how much you
Mhm.
spend on it and they give you a card.
Mhm.
Something as simple as that.
I mean, yeah, you can buy like gift certificates. You can probably print them out or something.
Mhm.
So yeah, we could probably do that. But something that we've talked about, but we haven't put into motion yet. So hopefully we want to do it by Christmas or
Yeah, for sure.
at least by Holodazzle or something, because we have to have our window decorated by then. So we're working on that too. So
When I first heard Curiosities, I thought of like taxidermy and like skulls and
Oddities.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
really odd things.
yeah.
So do you
Have you
plan
ever
to do
been to,
that?
like,
or-
Oddities Fair?
Yeah, I've seen them. I've never been to one. We
Uh-huh.
used to work at the Renaissance Festival.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
so yeah, I've seen the oddities, right? Because people will post about that. And I'm like, that would be interesting to go to. I actually did have somebody contact me on Facebook saying that they did that kind of art, with skulls and bones and stuff like that. And she has a friend from high school that does it as well. At this point, I'm, if somebody wants to give me stuff on consignment, we definitely would take a look and try to see if we could find a spot for it. 'Cause
Yeah.
anything that's going to make a little bit of money and anything that might, help out somebody else would be great too. So we've had a couple people ask if we buy books. We're not really in a position to do that, but we've really had more people ask about donations. We've thought about doing like a trade system, but we haven't quite. We're going to wait a few months and see how everything pans out. Cause we had a really great first week, but you never know. We had a lot of people supporting us, and people will go back and say, we've actually already have a review on Facebook.
Ew.
So, I'm really excited about the attention that we've gotten in the community. We're having a ribbon cutting and everything with Chamber of Commerce on November 4th.
Okay.
So we're really looking forward to being in the community, starting to do other things. So yeah, we absolutely would be on board with something like that. It sounds kind of cool, actually.
If you ever want to go to an oddities fair, the Traveling Oddities Expo, they go all over the country. I went to Louisville last year, and they had a taxidermy giraffe. They have all kinds of cool stuff.
Oh, that would be
And
really
then
cool.
they have like a show stage for the people that follow them, and they have sword swallowers and fire breathers and all
Oh,
kinds of cool
cool.
stuff.
That sounds like
Sick.
fun.
Well, it's only like $10 for a ticket if you buy them early.
It's not like Comic-Con. I was looking at, what is it, GalaxyCon that's coming to
Cool.
Columbus, and the one that was most recently, I think in Cincinnati, that a bunch of people were at, and I was like,
Oh, horror
I
hound.
would love to get all those. So one of the pharmacists I used to work with went to that one.
I've been there.
And she must have paid, she got her picture taken with everybody
I had
there.
people that went, only got their picture taken with Matthew Lillard, and I was like, I want to go. I love Matthew Lillard. Now that we've got completely off topic.
I feel like this is like The View, just a bunch of women talking. I'm just here for the ride, I guess.
Yes.
I'm not much of a talker on the podcast typically, but I love books and
Yeah.
weird things, so it's kind of my in to talk about this thing.
Right.
I've done it, Dustin.
Okay, congratulations. Some quick questions. One is, what has been the response so far from your customers?
So positive. Everybody is
Absolutely.
really excited. Like, we've had people following us for like months. They'll come in, they'll be like, I've been waiting for you to open. Or like,
We had it across the street.
Yeah,
There's
the girl
been
across the
yelling
street.
across the street. Are you open yet?
there was a young person who came in and was like, I've been waiting for you to open. Like,
Yeah.
I've been, like, basically had a countdown. It was like, I've been waiting for the moment you
I've
said you were
been
open.
so excited about the kids
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like the phone generation, and that's been so positive to me, is the kids. But the weirdest thing that I've found so far, I thought the band part would be the draw. Like, okay, people will come in and go, oh, look, that's band, ha, 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 and then move on and look at other things. We sold probably more band books than anything last week. So I was really excited about that. But then I couldn't find a whole lot when we went out looking for more. So, because people were buying them and I was like, oh, I was going to read that before I sold it. But I mean, that's been the most interesting thing to me. But yeah, the response has been from the community has been absolutely positive. You know, we already have people, are you open today? No, sorry, it's Monday.
Tell them it's Monday. Nothing in Wilmington is open on Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was going to ask you what your most popular seller was so far. Is it the banned books?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, we sold, let's see, I had to pull my own copy of Fahrenheit 451 and bring it to the store because we sold one. And I wanted to make sure we had it. It's definitely been the banned books. I mean, because the Harry Potter, of course, the Hunger Games, we've sold several sets. We've sold Twilight.
We've sold a lot of things that, like, well, people who graduated in like before 2000 come in and they're like, oh, I read this in school, and they'll
Yeah.
pull it off the shelf.
Yeah.
So like, oh, this was really good.
We
Like,
sold like 3 copies of The Outsiders to like one group of people because they were
Because they're
like,
like,
I
this
remember
is
reading this in
banned.
school and I didn't know. And then we had somebody who came in with a whole list of books that they wanted to buy.
Wow.
Of the banned books. They actually had a list. So it's been interesting. But yeah, I definitely think the banned books is probably what we sold the most of last week.
That's very interesting.
It is.
I would not think that.
I know. I wouldn't have either. I really thought people would be like, oh, ha, 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 that's banned, and then move on and buy something else. But yeah, but that's not to say that, you know, we haven't sold other books, but the banned books were definitely probably our biggest seller last week.
It's like a nostalgia thing.
Yeah, I think it is. Absolutely. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, I read this in high school. Oh, I haven't read this in years. And I actually sold The Outsiders to my aunt because I told her, I said, I know that, like, this is a banned book, but I know at least 3 generations of my family had to read this in school because she did, I did, and Lily did. And she's like, I don't remember reading this. And I was like, let me tell you why I know you read this. One of the girls that graduated with her had a daughter who danced with Lily, and she posted pictures of junior high when they had the Outsiders Day and they dressed like Soshas and Reesers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I know you read it because you are in that picture. And so she actually bought it so she could take it home and read it. She was like, once she started looking at it, she's like, oh, I vaguely remember this. So she bought it so that she could read it again. So, and I agree. It's a nostalgia thing. It's a lot of people that are very, you know, excited about, you know, rereading something that they haven't read in a long time. But we've also had people, like I had a lady who said, I'm going on vacation. I need something fluffy. And I was like, oh, we got
You were like
fluffy.
Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah. I sold her, Mary Kate Andrews is what I sold her. Yeah. Mary Kate Andrews is
you have
very
book
fluffy.
recommendations out of Wazoo, man. Somebody could come in and be like, I want a book that has the word upside down in it. And you'd be like, here you go.
Phil Silverstein.
Wow.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, but yeah, so yeah. But I definitely think our biggest seller last week was the banned books for sure.
So mention how I was surprised that band wasn't like occult stuff and Curiosities wasn't like taxidermy.
Yeah.
I was also surprised when I walked in of how like clean and like warm the atmosphere was. I was expecting like something like dingy, like old bookstore, you know?
Yeah.
But it's not that way at all. It's like incredibly nice and very welcoming. What vibe are you trying to like portray with the...
So my original thought was when my grandma had her store back in the day, she didn't have matching shelves. She had, you know, whatever was, my original thought was, like I said earlier, was we were going to buy, you know, mismatched kind of stuff and just kind of cozy kind of thing. But it was all going to depend on the space. And with the amount of light we get through those windows, that white just really is a good, like it feels open.
That makes sense.
Even though it's a smaller space, it feels really open because there's so much white. And I think that's part of it. And it was basically, okay, we went to IKEA and said, okay, these are the cheapest, but they have flimsy shelves. So let's move up to the next one. And we were like, oh, okay, this is okay. So
this won't crush a child.
Exactly. Well, yes. And they are all anchored to the wall. Yeah. And they're anchored together and anchored to the wall. Even the ones that are not against the wall are anchored together so that they're stable. But the brown cabinet that the banned books are in, so that makes it's kind of old fashioned and old pie safe, which really killed me because it came out of my house and I love it. And now I have a big empty space and no place to put all the books that were in it. But it was perfect because it kind of added that little bit of difference to everything. It kind of gave that a little bit of a different feel. But I mean, I think that's what we're going for is, we want people to be comfortable in there and to feel, they can just hang out and look for a book. I wish we had room for chairs because that would be my next thing is, to have chairs or,
You have the one chair in the front. Is that like decoration only?
I mean, you can sit on it, but it's old.
Yeah, I was going to say you can sit on it, but my mom sits on it and my aunts have sat on it. I would not sit on it. So it is very small and but that window is my 92-year-old grandma. That was her vision. She said I needed to have a little table. And so there's like a teacup and there's a book there and there's a pair of glasses and there's like a little light. So it looks like somebody's sitting there reading. That was what my grandma wanted us to do. And we have the little fake flickering candle and everything. So that was totally her vision. And Adam says, how long till we can move that? Because I want to put more shelves there.
It's so charming.
Hey, my 92-year-old grandmother wanted it there. I'm leaving it there.
Yeah.
And of course, anything that's not tied down is for sale. I don't know that Adam would sell the shelves, but for the right price, he might. But if somebody came in and said, I want that table, he would sell it. So even though it has termite tracks up the back of it.
Oh, wow.
One of my cousins wants it and she thinks that's character. So all the shelves in the back room are IKEA except for the furniture. So IKEA loves us. But, we were just going for a comfortable and bright and just to feel like you could just, walk around and look for something and, but they would feel comfortable asking us questions.
Yeah, but I think you and Dad kind of foster that environment too. Like, you walk in the door, the first thing they do is start talking to you. And then it's like, if you have any questions, ask us. And I hope nobody ever feels uncomfortable having to ask a question because the two of them, I won't be there very often because I'm at school, but the two of them open anything. You could ask them anything. They'd be like, well, here's the answer. And here's the short answer, but here's also the long answer. You foster that environment and that makes me very happy as your child.
Oh,
thanks.
Oh, you should have heard my almost speech earlier, but y'all were talking.
She's been sitting over there just making her soliloquies.
Yeah, I had a whole speech from the beginning about how proud I am of you and how I'm just happy that you found something that made you happy. That
support family.
You've always been my support person, but you always wanted to make sure I did everything I wanted to do, and that's why I woke up at 5 a.m. on a Wednesday to drive down here to be here for your bookstore. That you later squashed. It was so good when it was squashed. So.
It was the meaning behind it.
Squished anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Support us.
Yeah.
Sponsor us.
Yeah, hey, that'll be good. Yeah, I've had several people from high school that don't live here that are like, is there any way we could support you from afar? And I'm like, I have no idea. They're like, can we order books? People have asked if I'm going to do anything online. And I'm like, we've talked about it and it's something that might come up in the future because we have a lot of old books, like really old books that, maybe we should be selling to collectors. But then again, that's really not what we wanted to do. We just wanted to be able to get books to anybody, to whoever needs them. We had a kid stop by, what was that, Friday night? It was like 6:00 and he was like, oh, are you closing? Are you open tomorrow? I really want to come back, but I can't spend any of my money. I have to go to the football game. I was like, we'll be here.
So the next section is just about your business model. And I kind of feel bad about this section now because it seems like things are going so well. But if you look around, bookstores are closing and you have Amazon makes it easy to buy books online or just read them digitally.
Right.
What were you thinking opening a bookstore? What gave you the courage to say, this is what I want to do, this is going to work?
To be perfectly honest, a lot of it was due to the fact that I didn't like my job.
Okay.
I needed
the best reason to
else.
start a business.
I know. I had to get out there. It was a lot of, I have long COVID, or at least that's what we think it is. I've been through a million different tests. So I've not been healthy as far as work goes, and sitting all day in one place and talking on the phone was unbearably uncomfortable. And so
that's Emily's job here. So
it was awful. And I really couldn't do it anymore. So, we started talking about it, and then it was, is it going to be a part-time thing? And then we were like, well, how can it be a part-time thing to open a bookstore? And the Wednesday through Saturday was what we decided, because Adam's off on Thursday and Saturday. So he'll always be there to help me on those 2 days. But like the Wednesday and Friday, I'll most of the time be by myself, but I can get up and move around. I was tied to a phone, and it was unbearably uncomfortable. And with everything else going on, and I was having some trouble with memory and fatigue and all this stuff. So it was like, okay, maybe we should just try something else. And Adam said, as long as we make our rent, that's all I care about. Like, we don't have a whole lot of overhead. So obviously all we do is pay rent and buy books. Like I said, I went overboard buying books, but we still had a good profit last just for the 4 days that we were open. So that's very promising. But then you also think that it's going to translate into always being that way. But yeah, I agree. And every time I see a bookstore close, I kind of cringe and go, oh, but I'm hoping that having lower prices will make people want to seek us out versus, so we figure, yes, our competition is Amazon and Kindle, but digital books, whatever. But a lot of people still want that book. They want that feeling of a book. Like, I've had 2 different Kindles, and I read on my Kindle, and I'll take it, like I took it on an airplane one time and that kind of thing. But I need that book, that feel of a book, the texture. It's just a thing for me because it's been such a big thing in my life. But I think that I'm hoping that people will seek us out before they go to Amazon, which is why we're trying to have a wide variety. My intention, once we get more established, is like next summer, I'll call the schools and say, hey, what's on your reading lists? And try to,
that's smart.
And try to grab as many of those as possible. That's something we've talked about doing tie-ins, like with the Murphy, doing like a band book night, like a band movie night. So we're hoping that just being in the community and being accessible and lower in cost will help us. There are times when, I kind of freak out and go, what if we don't make, like the week before we opened, it was every day I'd wake up and go, what am I thinking? Am I insane? Like, I left a job that I've been at for 10 years to do this, and what is going to happen? And is this going to, but luckily I have that support system, because Adam's the one that talks me out of my crazy when I start losing my mind. And he's like, it's okay. We'll figure it out. It's always doable. So with that support, I think that helps. But yeah, I know.
And also, used books on Amazon are $3 for a hardback and $2 for a paperback.
Right.
And $30 for a really cruddy version of a book that's missing 3 pages.
Yeah. Or granted, we have some marked up books, right? Like, you get a lot. But I also think that,
and the people like the smell of books.
Yeah.
Like, I've noticed that, like, people will pick up books and smell them. Like, if you flip the pages.
Yes. I have one. Yeah. My sister got it for me for Christmas a few years ago.
That was one thing she said. Like, when we go to like bookstores, I pick up new books because I'm like, I don't want to touch the pages that are falling apart. But she picks up old books and she'll sniff them. I'm like, what are you doing?
I love books.
And I think that's like a big thing, is like, people want that type of, like, it's a 4 senses. Please don't lick the books. It's a 4 senses experience. Like, you can see it, you can smell it, you can hear the flipping of the pages, like,
feel the pages.
Feel it. It's like, when you're looking at a Kindle, your eyes start to hurt after a while. Like, a real book, the words get a little iffy if it's like 4 a.m, you've been reading for a while, but like, there's a physical thing for you to hold on to.
Even though you have that with the Kindle, but the Kindle's just like,
the Kindle is thin, and you can't you can't flip the page.
We figure, other than Amazon, our only competition in town might be Ollie's, and Ollie's is, while they're priced okay, they're still more expensive than us. But Goodwill, all of their books are $2.99 now. I used to go into Goodwill and buy cartloads of books when they were 99 cents, because I read all the time. And that was really one of the only reasons why I went. But after COVID, they upped all of their books and they're $2.99 a piece. And I figure that's our biggest competition in town, really. I guess, because Walmart sells their books and whatever, but
even being a used store, you still carry more of a selection and probably have more like what people are actually searching for. Like when I go to Goodwill and I'm looking for books, I'm not looking for anything. I'm just like, oh, I guess that looks okay.
Right.
If I go to Ollie's, same thing. Like, Lord only knows what you're going to find at Ollie's in the books.
Right.
Good deals cheap, right?
Good stuff, cheap.
Oh, good stuff.
And another thing about like us being like a family run store, like you can't go into Ollie's and be like, hey, I'm looking for this book. Would you mind like looking for that? Like on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, like we are going out and we're looking for books. And she asks people like, what are you looking for? And somebody's like, I'm looking for such and such. She writes it down on her phone and we go and we look for those things. There's no like limitation to like what you can get at the store.
We're going to do our best to find something.
Like she's got a whole list on her phone and she will pull it out in the middle of the bookstore and be like, all right, so I'm looking for this and we have to be in this section. It's like, she wants to make sure that there's something for everybody in the store because you can't have, I only have this book. I'm not going to help you look for that book because like, then you just look like a turd. like you can't go into like Ollie's or Walmart and ask an employee, like, I'm looking for this book and they can immediately probably tell you where it is. Like, they know where everything is in that store. And it's like, oh, we don't have that. Well, we had it, but we don't have it anymore. I'm going to go look for it. Like, I'll write it down and come back next week and we might have it.
Yeah.
We had a lady looking for yoga books. And I knew I had one, but it was old, like really, really old because it was written by the lady who used to do, she actually still does yoga on PBS, Lilias, if you've ever heard of her. Mm-hmm. I've watched her when I was a little kid and she's still there. And I had one book by her and she went back and said, when I gave her that book and I said, I will look the next time I go. So we found some today and I told her, and she even commented on Facebook. They helped me find a book. They said they would look for more, we're just trying to foster that, come back. And, people will say, I'm looking for this. And I'm like, come back next week. We'll see what we can find. It's a lot about, we'll just look for it. If you're interested, we'll try to find it if we can. Now there's some stuff that we struggle to find, like Stephen King. Impossible to find. Impossible. We thought it took us months to find a Stephen King book. I actually went to Goodwill and paid $2.99 for Stephen King books just so I could have some. I figured it evens out in the end because we don't pay that much for books normally. So, but yeah, we're just trying to foster that comeback kind of thing. You're going to come in once and ask for something and we're going to tell you, we'll go look for it. They're going to come back looking for it. I have a lady coming back. She's looking for Foxfire books. And I had some, she bought the ones that were in the store. I had 2 more left at home that I hadn't pulled out and taken over yet. She's coming in tomorrow to get them. So we've already got some of those people that are coming back for more, looking for other things.
So part of your competitive advantage against like Amazon and Kindle and stuff is that your personal touch and you care about people
absolutely. I would think so. That's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I order books on Amazon too. If it's something I'm looking for and I know it's going to be cheaper on Amazon or I don't want to go looking for it somewhere else. This Barnes and Noble is a dangerous place for me because I just keep buying books, but it's not necessarily stuff that I want to sell either. But, I'm hoping that us being there and then being able to see the same people every time they come in. And
I think Wilmington needs more businesses downtown. So like businesses that people can like shop, not just like a law firm that's never open, but like someone you can come in and get to know people. So
yeah.
And,
I know some people are thinking, it's unsafe and whatever. That they're worried about opening businesses in town. But I mean,
they're most worried about the kids getting crushed by bookshelves.
Yeah,
they are anchored to the wall. I promise.
Yes, very well anchored.
I swear.
Yeah, but I feel like we definitely need more businesses downtown that we can all work cooperatively together and push everybody around. And I mean, we made a point we bought our bags from Sabins.
Yeah.
Because we got online and looked at the price and went to Sabins and they were actually cheaper.
Yeah.
And Sabins is a local business. They've been here forever and we're actually kind of related to them by marriage as well. So it was kind of
Related to everybody.
I know.
Yeah, you have no idea.
It's kind of a win-win. Well, yeah,
I
she
grew up.
does.
Well,
She does.
that's
But yeah, I agree. Wilmington needs more businesses that are involved in
Not just website companies that won't invite anybody in here.
They lock their doors.
Yeah, but you're doing a podcast and you're
Sure,
talking
sure.
to people and you're,
I guess,
you
yeah,
know.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
So I think you mentioned on the podcast that your husband's so supportive and mentioned that you don't need to make any money. You can just do what you want to do. But how many books did you need to sell a month to like break even or pay the rent, I guess?
What did Daddy tell you? 20?
It's 20 books a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
To break even.
Gotcha.
I believe is what Father said.
Yeah.
And books are your like the majority of what you sell, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
percentage wise, like over 95% or 90%?
I would say
Yeah,
90 at least. Yeah. I'm trying to push the other Curiosities.
Uh-huh.
I posted it on Facebook and I try to make sure people go back there. I think that the draw is the books, but I'm hoping that as it comes, as people spend more time there, they might go back there. And as word spread, you may get people who are like, we've got our name in the directory or whatever.
The Chamber of Commerce?
Not the Chamber. Well, that would be in that, but the other one.
The Google? Oh,
No.
there's more.
Convention and Visitors Bureau.
CBB.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so once we get ourselves in that, hopefully that'll be, and Lily laughed at me the other day, but I'm on a Facebook page or a Facebook group that's Ohio road trips. And they're frequently asking about books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the
The
best
question was,
bookstore?
what was the best bookstore? She hyped herself up in the comment section.
I absolutely.
Reasonably priced, great owner.
But I will tell you that we went to a bookstore over the weekend because they had on Sunday, of course we were open on Saturday, but on Sunday they had a Cincinnati bookstore crawl. And it was like 12 bookstores that were doing this. We didn't make it to all 12 in one day. There was no way on Sunday because they were only open from like 10 to 5. But one of them we went to, the owner, same kind of setup. The owner does pretty much everything. And he happened to, she was looking for the bathroom and he took her there. So she hiked up the bookstore for me.
I
And,
have the bookstore at college too.
yeah. And so he came back and he's like, hey, when you get through line, I want to talk to you. Well, this place was packed. He has 22,000 books.
So a few more than you.
Yeah.
Just a few.
Uh-huh.
But he also has a big space. His space is huge and it's the same kind of thing, but his is very eclectic. Different bookshelves, big stuffed couches. He had an old beauty shop chair with the
And he also hosts concerts.
and he
everything.
does concerts and that kind of stuff. And we've talked about, maybe trying to do a poetry slam or something like that. Was it Molly or Shelby?
Molly, because me and Molly have been looking for a poetry slam for months.
Well, if you guys want to help me set one up, because I'm not really 100% sure what it is, I'm on board to have people bring in folding chairs. And I'm open to anything that anybody wants to suggest. I mean, I really like our idea is to be involved. We've been here forever and I want to be able to be involved and entertain anybody, have whatever makes anybody else be interested kind of thing. So have you ever been to Rabbit Hole? You should check it out. I know it's probably a drive for you. Do you still live in Hillsborough?
No, I live here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We go everywhere, wherever we need to go, we go.
We sit in a triangle of three major cities.
Well,
so-
one weekend we went to Frankenmuth and then went to Pittsburgh in like 2 days because that was it was a Greta Van Fleet Metallica concert.
yeah, keep that.
What the
Oh
heck
no!
is
Oh
that?
no! Did you hear that?
I didn't hear.
I love Greta Van Fleet.
Oh no!
Is
My
that,
grandma-
is that the
Tim's wife loves Greta Van Fleet.
Really?
She just went to a concert all the way up in Cleveland for it.
I'm assuming
Shout
it's-
out to Candy.
I was gonna buy tickets to that concert, but they were $100,000,000.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
okay.
What's your question?
I assume that lady is not the lady who's against climate change.
Well,
right?
that's
No,
Greta
Greta Van-
Van Thunberg.
Okay.
Greta
Different.
Van Fleet
I was like, you guys are very excited about climate
I-
change.
Yeah.
I've shown you Greta Van Fleet before. They're
Okay.
a band.
Oh, please.
Okay.
Oh, she's got it.
Ready to
She's
go.
met all of their parents.
All right.
I have met all their parents. I've met their drummer's sister.
She went to see them. So when they were in Cincinnati last year, she had just gotten hurt at Kings Island. She was having a bad week. I looked at the concert.
Are you showing me a picture? I don't know.
They
Just
were
Google
like,
my
I'll play
picture.
their music later.
Oh, I have that too.
$55. So I just called her at work that morning and said, hey, she was cat sitting in Cincinnati. So I was like, she's already gonna be down there. So I was like, hey, do you want to go see Greta Van Fleet? And she's like, what? So
burst
I
into
bought her the
tears
ticket.
Oh my
back
gosh.
behind the door.
So she went,
I sobbed.
so she was in a booth. So they gave her a better seat. Well, she happened to sit in front of Lori Wagner.
No, I was standing up because my boot was digging into the back of my leg, and I'm leaned up against like the brick wall where the stairs to get up to the next section, where all of a sudden somebody starts touching my hair. So I turn around, not thinking like it's
You're about to deck somebody.
I saw his dad, and I went, Daniel Wagner. And then I turned back around and started looking at the stage again. And she still touched my hair. I turned around again. She's like, I'm really sorry. You just have really pretty hair. And I went, holy crap. You're Lori Wagner.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't have been about that. I would have been like, stop touching me.
People touch my
She's
hair all the
so used
time.
to it, yeah.
All the time.
Our preacher's wife used to stand behind her and stroke her hair all the
I
time.
tell her not to touch my hair too. I
Yeah.
don't touch me.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of Greta,
It
it was their,
Oh, did
it's
they?
their Discord, but they did post on Twitter. I liked it while we were sitting here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, she's yeah.
Obsessed
She
is not the
follows
word.
a bunch of their friends that are bands too. So
cool.
Max Saturn is
Like
one of
Max,
them.
yeah, and they're all like new bands, so they're still like talking to their fans and stuff. So like I hang out with them after their concerts.
Nice.
We went off topic, way off topic, but anyway.
Well, that's
Your
fine.
editing
The View.
better be fan.
I know, this is the view. This is what I'm going to
Please call it that.
longest
The
podcast.
band Bunk View.
Well, my last question was going to be, what does it take to make a real change? And I, as someone who like has quit their career of 23 plus years to like open a bookstore,
Yeah.
I think you might have some advice or some wisdom to share. I think everyone wants like change, but like that's a real change. So
I
like,
mean, it was very scary. It was very overwhelming, but I think it's just hard work and trying to be open-minded and be ready to, help people in any way that you can. And hopefully, maybe it'll make a change to have people coming uptown and have people reading and, learning new things and learning about banned books. And yeah, I've lived here my whole life other than that, 3 years, but, and I love
I'll never live that down.
I love Wilmington and it's a part of me. Like I went to college for a quarter and 2 weeks and I moved home. I hated it. Couldn't stand to be away. But I couldn't stand to be away. I never, when I was younger, when I pictured what my life looked like at this age, I never dreamed I'd still be here. I don't think Adam would leave. So I guess maybe, that might be the draw, except for the fact that we've talked about if she goes and we're too far away, we might follow her. So far, she's not planning.
She's
on going
shaking
too
her head
far
now.
away. I don't think. Nashville. I don't know. She talked about New York for years, but it's yeah.
Expensive, scary, no trees. I like trees. It's too much.
But I mean,
Right.
I think that Wilmington needs places. They need places to hang out. They need places to shop. Our town needs a lot. It's working. It's happening. I see it happening.
Mhm.
I'm not a big drinker, so I don't hang out at Tin Cap too much, but I've been there a few times and I hear the food at the Escape is amazing. So I really would like to go there sometime. We just have never gone because most of the time we had her with us and she wasn't old enough, but she's almost,
20 days.
I say 20 days.
Wow.
You can take her anywhere. So, but I mean, the community is a part of my family. It's my stepdad graduated from Wilmington. My mom graduated from Bland.
And
My husband, Adam and I both, his parents graduated from Wilmington, so our families have been in this area forever. Like my mom lived in Midland. They moved from Cincinnati when she was in like kindergarten. So my grandma has lived on the same piece of property for like 70, 80 years at this point. Yeah. So it's just a part of me. Like Clinton County is just really, and I've always wanted to do something that I felt like I was helping the community. At one point I wanted to be a guardian ad litem, but now it's a completely voluntary job. And I tried to do it. I thought about doing it between my regular job, but you can't because you have to be available between like 8 and 4.
What did you just say? What is
a
that?
guardian ad litem.
I have no idea what that
That's
is.
what they're not called that anywhere. I don't think it's CASA.
they are
children
advocates for
Yeah.
so children of crimes get like an advocate for them to speak for them.
court.
In, like,
a lot of
Okay.
the time it's
Okay.
foster care as well.
Okay.
And that's where the idea where I thought about doing it because my youngest brother is adopted. So he had a guardian. At the time, it was called a guardian ad litem. And, they just support the children and whatever. And that was something that I always thought would be cool to do to help in the community. Mm-hmm. Like, I've always wanted to do something where I felt like, I was doing something for my community.
Yeah.
And so that's where this came from.
Well, thanks for making the real change and making real change in Wilmington. Yeah. Appreciate it.
We hope that we'll be here for a long time. I'm looking at this to be my retirement job. So
nice.
So let's hope that we can stay that way.
Well, Rachel and Lloyd, thank you for being on our podcast. Thanks for chatting. Excited to share your story with everybody. No, it's good. It's good for people, I think, to know who you are.
Yeah.
Beyond just like the building and you see it, or a Facebook post, just like to hear, if you don't get a chance to talk to you, but just to know the person behind that business in our town,
Yeah.
Well, that's it for our podcast today, folks. Hope you enjoyed hearing from Rachel and Lily Collins over at the Banned Book Nook and other Curiosities. If you have more questions for them, feel free to just walk in. They're on Mulberry Street. Just head in there when they're opened and chat with them and check out some of their books and their banned books and their other Curiosities. Did I get everything, Emily?
Yep, that's everything.
Okay, if people want to connect with Real Change, how would they do that?
So like Dustin said earlier, we have the website, we have an app, we have the paper, and we have social media. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Real Change Wilmington and on YouTube.
With that, I'm your host, Dustin Pierce.
And I'm the co-host, Emily Griffiths.
Keep it real, Wilmington.